Well, hello. I'm so excited to be able to tell you a little bit more about this amazing story in a little town, a little village in Kenya called Witu. Hudson Taylor was the founder of the China Inland Mission, a pioneer missionary to China in the 18th century. He would say, there are three stages. There are three stages in every great work for God. First, it's impossible, and then it's difficult, and then it's done. I think that's just what happened with this project in Witu. Pastor Wambugu came back from his sabbatical in January of this year saying there's a community in Witu, Kenya, and we can do something to help them. He said we can build them a church. They were at risk of being displaced from the place that they were renting for worship, and they didn't have a home. They didn't know where they were going to go, what they were going to do. And so in May, when we celebrated the 100th anniversary of worshiping in our beautiful sanctuary, we recognized that we received gifts from people who are our forebears that we would never know, and that because of their generosity and their just goodness and their foresight, we are continuing to receive benefits from the gifts that they've given. Couldn't we, in celebration of the 100th anniversary in our sanctuary, give some gifts to enable another church in another place to receive the benefits of worshiping over time in a place? So you all, the congregation of First Church, gave generously, and we were able to build that church. And so from January, when the idea came to us, to July, the church was built. The first worship service, they had 19 baptisms, people in the community who wanted to profess their faith in Jesus, to celebrate the first worship service in this new structure by surrendering their lives to Jesus and his lordship. Isn't that beautiful? And then in September, we planned a worship service for the dedication. So I'm sitting here with two brothers in the church here, Quentin and Matt, who were a part of the delegation that went to represent First Church in celebrating that amazing moment. So guys, thank you so much. Not only thank you for being here in the church to have this beautiful conversation, but thank you for your willingness to adjust your calendars and rearrange your schedules and working things out with your families to be able to go on behalf of the congregation to celebrate this dedication. So Matt, Quentin, maybe tell me just a little bit about how you came to know that this trip was going on and how Wambugu and I twisted your arms into going.
I'd like to hear how your arm was twisted.
It was over coffee, and I would just have to say it was probably a divine moment because I think I just happened to be where Pastor was maybe needing to find somebody, and so I was told about the trip and asked if I would be willing to go, and my immediate thought was if I'm able to, then I definitely want to. So I gave a tentative yes, and then went back home and work and made all the details pan out, and that was maybe 3 weeks before. It was very short notice, so it was. I'm
really glad you said yes.
I am very glad I said yes, too.
I'm pleased that you said yes. I had the good fortune of going to Kenya once before with the church, and it was a great mission trip. It was something that spoke to me in a way that made it worthwhile for me to, when asked again, would I consider going back to Kenya? Absolutely. And so when you're asked, I think that anybody that is asked, you should obviously take it very seriously, consider it, but then if your heart says yes, say yes. And being able to say yes to a trip halfway around the world, I'm fortunate that we were able to do that, and I had the good fortune. You said that we had to move our families around, but I got to take my family with me this time. Part of it, anyways, my wife got to attend, and that was a beautiful situation for both of us to be able to enjoy that together.
Beautiful. So when we were in Kenya together in 2023, we were in Nairobi, we were north, we were in the mountains, we got to Nyeri, and it was foggy and cold, and I thought that I was in Ireland or something. But this trip is down to the coast. It's the opposite direction. You got to Nairobi, and then you got on a plane to head out, not even to the continent, into an island. Tell us a little bit about what your trip down to the coast was like.
We did pack different. So you're correct that we had a lot of warm gear last time, and then this time we were told you might want flip-flops and shorts because you're going to be on the coast, and it was truly a beautiful white sanded beach in Lemu, and then we traveled a little bit more inward to Witu, to the village of Witu. So the travel was exciting. We got to jump on a boat. Matt's got some great pictures of the boat, a long cigar-shaped boat that was run by a gentleman that they did want to pass out a lot of life jackets, something that we've joked about quite a bit. Pastor Wambugu was very concerned for our well-being, wanted to make sure that we had our life jackets secured. Maybe he'd even shared a link where he had bought a life jacket on Amazon and suggested this was a very good life jacket and would be able to support even a grown man like myself. And that's about when we broke it to him that we were both prepared because we could swim. And Matt was generous enough to sincerely look at Pastor Wambugu and offer to teach him how to swim. And he said and the offer is still good?
The offer is still good.
So I love, number one, just thank you for your willing spirit to go, to just say yes and get on a plane, travel, was it 15, 18 hours or something?
It was planes, trains, and automobiles. We were 25 hours of air travel. Then you do get to Nairobi. Nairobi's a beautiful city, first world country, by all accounts. We had a great meal. We were blessed to spend time with our driver and Pastor Wambugu's family. We did spend a little bit of time in Nairobi. Did maybe a classic safari. Went and saw some rhinoceroses and giraffes, and that was touched an elephant. I think you touched an elephant. That was a big deal. That was a lot of fun for my wife. That she did say that she would go as long as she could touch an elephant.
There you go. All right, so mission accomplished.
So leaving Nairobi though, we did jump on a smaller plane. Airline was called Jumbo Jet. And Jumbo Jet is a little sparser accommodations, and we made it to Lemu, and from Lemu it was a 45-minute to an hour drive.
Yeah, took the riverboat over, or the little cigar-shaped boat that you were talking about over, and then got in this Land Cruiser and just drove
from the island
away from the white sand beaches and into the rural
jungle
area where
we did
the church was built.
Jungle. Yep. And then along the road, it was baboons and military and
zebras.
Zebras.
We saw zebras.
We went back for the zebras.
We did. We saw zebras.
I love that.
Yep.
So, Lamu there is on the coast. It's a place where historically there was a lot of slave trading with the Arabs, especially. So it's a really rich and also complicated history of the community there. Interesting, complicated relationships even between Muslim communities and Christian communities. And in this part of Kenya, often what will happen is if there's a church that's built, then Muslim communities will build a mosque just so that there's equal time for the community. There's not overt kinds of persecution. There's no people being taken and beaten and jailed and things like that. There's maybe some soft persecution where being a Christian might make it harder to find a job or something along that lines.
I remember distinctly one of the first things that happened when we got to our accommodations was the sound going off for prayer. And you just, not only did you kind of hear that, but you could feel in that area that we were not in Tulsa, Oklahoma anymore. We were in more of a different
the Muslim
place.
call to prayer.
The Muslim call to
Yeah.
prayer. Like as soon as we got in, and then it was just, you could just hear it, and you just there wasn't a,
You
there was
felt
a
it
feeling
too.
there.
You
for
felt
sure.
it. Probably there was a deep singing. It was a baritone voice. It was not a voice that I'd ever experienced before or heard, and it did not click instantly. I listened. There was this monotone song in the background, and it did take me a few minutes to for it to come
I realize what's
to
going
realize
on
what
there.
was going on, and then I did recognize it. And it was, I mean, it was lovely once you found out that it was a call to prayer, but it wasn't something that you're used to church bells, not. And so we were in a community where that was something that was typical.
I definitely think it reminded us of the need for this church in the space where it's at, and why this was such a good location for First Church to be supporting and developing, because we weren't back in Nairobi. It wasn't. We weren't in an area
cosmopolitan.
where it was Christian or an area that was developed. And so then we left there, and we took the drive to the church site after that. And so it really, I think, put us in the right mind space of why we were there, the community that we were there to help.
Beautiful. So the worship service is going to be on Sunday morning, and then you guys get there maybe Friday sometime.
We did.
And then there's still a lot of work to do on Saturday. I've seen some pictures of you guys just covered in sweat, working with wheelbarrows and with shovels, and just helping to prepare the space for the dedication service. So thank you for that good work. Do you have anything that you'd like to say about working alongside the villagers and preparing the space?
I'm just so happy that we got the chance to work along with the villagers, and that they were able to. The people from the community came out.
The church members.
The church members, and so I had the great fortune of meeting Kennedy, and a young man that told me that this was his church. I said, we asked, are you going to be here while we're scooping rocks and while we're moving materials around and while we're preparing the grounds? It was a question of, are you going to come tomorrow? He said, well, of course, this is my church. And that was nice to hear, that he had already taken ownership. This was already his church. And that was nice.
I love that.
But the community did come out. The community came out to help, to work, and that was an experience by itself that was worth it.
Absolutely. It was beautiful experience to work with the people who were going to be able to use the space, and some of the elders from the church and the young people like Kennedy, and just to see them working on Saturday, and then we all come back 24 hours later or so, or less than that, I guess. We worked pretty late on Saturday, and so then you come back next day on Sunday, geared up and ready for this, and everybody's very excited and getting to experience the dedication of their own building, something that's going to stand the test of time. So it was really neat.
So the church dedication service comes now. Tell us a little bit about what's going on. There's the church building. There's these tents that are set up outside. So there's
The overflow
It's
tents.
a big celebration. Folks from not only this particular village, but throughout the whole presbytery are coming to celebrate the dedication of this new church. So when you get there, like, how many people are there for this event? Like, how many people will fit inside the church? How many people are in the overflow section? Just kind of paint that picture for us a little bit.
I can go off of the numbers that we were prepared for, and what we prepared for, because again, it's kind of like what you said. First, it's impossible, and then it's done. So it's difficult, and then it's done. So we, on Friday, it was still potentially in the difficult stage. But we witnessed the tents come. And inside the church, as we were preparing the church and setting up the chairs for the church, we were told there was going to be 300 people, but there was only 60 chairs. So we knew that there was a delta there that had to be filled somewhere. And we were told, no, we've got tents coming and additional chairs coming. The chairs did make it that afternoon, and we had all of 300 chairs placed. And so within the church, I'd say that was about approximately 60 people. Plus the pastoral members on stage, so well over 75 people with all the children in attendance as well. And then outside, close to 200 people in chairs, and then the entire village on top of that. Everybody was...
Wherever you could be.
Wherever you could be, they're standing all the way back out to the street and the road. Along the way, what was fun was when we left, help me out, the town that we were staying in was Impektu.
Yeah, that sounds,
In
that sounds right.
Pecatoni.
In Pecatoni, okay.
We had passed by a bus, and there was a bus pulled over on the side of the road, and it was starting to be filled. And this is a full-size bus that you'd experience seeing and driving through Tulsa, and it was packed. And there was a line of people to get on the bus, 7 to 13 people still needing to get onto the bus. And Pastor Wambugu said, they're going to Witu. It was 35 miles away. Why would this bus, how do you know that? For one, how do you know that bus is going to Witu? And that's a long ways off for this bus that's filling up with people on a Sunday morning that could be going to any church. They were definitely going to church. They were dressed for church. They're ready to go to church. But how do you know they're going to our church? Sure enough, 45 minutes later, we had passed by that bus on the road on the way there, and sure enough, that bus pulled up, and those congregants, those constituents were getting off the bus, and they came and worshiped. Half those people were inside the church with us. And I recognized some of the faces from standing in line. I love that. Yep. One in particular was a person with special needs, and it was somebody that he was the first to come. He was the last person on that bus I saw, and he was the first person to the front of that stage to sing.
I love it. There's just something special when we do these mission projects in the other parts of the world. I always call them homecomings. I always call them, when we went in 2023, it was the Kenya homecoming, the Ireland homecoming, wherever we're going. Because when we worship with Christians in other places and other cultures and other languages, the thing that unites us is so much more important than anything that divides us. And in an eternal sense, right, in the kingdom of God, when all of those divisions are laid aside, we'll be one people worshiping one God, one family, in one house. And when we go to worship with Christians in other parts of the world, we're home. And I just wondered, tell me a bit about your experience worshiping with people that you'd never met before in a church that was brand new. And my guess is that you had some of that familiar feeling like, this is very strange and this is just right.
I absolutely felt that. I walked away from it with this is a once in a lifetime kind of moment in time of, you really could see the birth of something happening in this community. This is a building that's going to stand there made out of metal and steel and concrete, and that they were so happy to be there. And you could just feel that we're all coming together as one church. And we may have not even known the language that the songs were being sung in, but you could definitely feel that this was a big moment in their lives. And so for us, I think we felt very humbled, and it was very significant to be able to be there and be witnesses of it.
Yep. I think humbled is the right word. I do wish that there were that more people could have experienced that same growth and feeling of building a church.
Absolutely.
So as you went, not kind of knowing in many ways what to expect, just somehow in faith in God and somehow Pastor Wambugu and I saying yes to us, as you come home, like what's maybe a significant takeaway from you? What from this journey do you think you'll carry with you in further seasons of life?
So I think that if we go back to being a willingness to say yes is something that I felt like is a track that I've been on with the church. No matter what the church asked me to do, I think I want to just be able to say yes. I hope I have the ability to say yes. But when being able to say yes and not know what is coming, know that we are protected, we're taken care of, our way is prepared, and that just our going back to being a deacon, being the hands and feet of our church to go out into these unknown communities, being willing to say yes and do that is, that's the first step. And just having the confidence that your church is there to take care of you along the way, and that you're going to be paired with someone that is completely unknown, but is just the right partner to be on that mission with us.
I agree. I think just being available was the first step for me, is being able to say yes. Like Quentin has said, I think it's a great phrase that I learned from him on this trip. As we got to know each other by going on the trip, we didn't know each other before. So just that thought process of, what does my church need? If my church is asking of it, I want to be able to say yes. I think that's the mantra. That's something that I'm going to continue on with just after having this experience. And I do agree with you. I wish more people could have actually been there to witness and go on the experience of being on a First Presbyterian Church trip. It was absolutely a great experience for me. And I had no idea what to expect. If people were asking me, as I was telling you, I'm headed to Kenya, and they go, wow, what are you doing? I honestly have no idea what to expect. Like, I don't really know what I should be packing for 100%, or like what this is supposed to be like. But going into that with that attitude, and just to being here to represent the church and to be an ambassador for First Church, it was a phenomenal experience, one that I'll never forget.
And I think once given the opportunity to go once, I do think, you will go again. Just like, nobody in 2023, I went to Kenya with the homecoming mission. And I knew that wasn't going to be the last time. I did not know I was going to go back in 2025, but I knew that I was going to go back to Kenya. And I think that you have to give yourself the opportunity to go and experience this. And once you've given yourself that opportunity, then it would be something that you would continue to do. I think you'll find times in your life to do that again and again and again. And it doesn't have to be an actual physical trip to Kenya, but it could be a trip to TIF. It could be a trip back. It could be a gift that you know that's going to make it over there. On our way to Kenya, I'll share one small story. We did stop at, we spent the day at TIF at service with Pastor Wambugu in preparation of going. Matt definitely needed to experience a Kenyan church experience, a 4-hour sermon, so you know how long you're going to be standing. But there was just a small ask of, would you mind bringing something to my mother? The answer is, of course, yeah, we'll make room. It's something small, it's in a bag. It was socks. It was socks and Crocs shoes, but it doesn't take much. Yeah. And it could travel all the way around the world. But it was a gift that was passed from a son to a mother, all the way around the world, and it was nothing more than socks, but it meant so much more to that family.
Yeah, I love that. I think of myself as a debtor to global Christians. Christianity in especially Africa, and not only Africa, but also the Philippines and Nepal and Costa Rica and Honduras over the course of my life have done so much to shape my faith and to inform my understanding of Christianity, my understanding of mission, my understanding of like what it even means to be the church in any particular place and time. My encouragement would be, just as these gentlemen said, if you ever get a chance to go on one of these global homecoming trips, if you want to go visit people in a home that you've never seen before, figure it out, make a way, just say yes. The pieces will come together, the stars will align, the doors will open. If it's something in your heart wants to say yes, then say yes, and we'll work out the rest. The yes is the most important piece, and sometimes it's the hardest piece. So just listen to that, and I hope you'll be attentive. I just want to say thank you again, guys, for your time and your energy, your gifts, for representing the church. So Quentin's a deacon who just rolled off of the deacon board last year. Matt's getting ready to be ordained as a deacon in 2026. And so thank you for embodying that spirit of service for the church, for representing the church, and for keeping Wambugu out of trouble on this trip to Kenya. And I look forward to whatever mission opportunities we have to share in the future.
Thank you. Thank you, Pastor. Thank you for the opportunity, First Church.